to the AAFCA Best of 2020 recap, Best Black Actresses in Film in 2020. Today we'll be recapping our picks for the Best Black Actresses in films that came out in 2020 with AAFCA critics from the world's largest group of Black film critics, and we will be led by our fearless leader, President of AAFCA, Gil Robertson. And Gil, take it away.
Thanks, Sharronda. In a year where Black film and TV has excelled, we wanted to celebrate the achievements we had with Black actors in 2020. Our critics will discuss AAFCA's top 5 picks of the best Black actresses in film and offer their insight and thoughts on their performance. Let's first introduce our panel for this discussion. Carla Renata in Los Angeles, Kathia Woods in Philadelphia, Ronda Rousey Penrice in Atlanta, and Sharronda Williams in Atlanta. We're going to be taking a look at a few actors: Nicole Beharie in Miss Juneteenth, Latisha Wright for Mangrove, Radha Blank for 40-Year-Old Virgin, Dominique Fishbach for Project Power, and of course, Viola Davis for Ma Rainey.
The first actress we'll discuss is Nicole Beharie, who plays Turquoise Jones, a former beauty queen and single mom that prepares her rebellious teenage daughter for the Miss Juneteenth pageant in Miss Juneteenth. Carla, we'll start with you.
You know, Nicole Beharie has played everybody's wife in a variety of different movies, including 42 with our dear departed Chadwick Boseman. But Miss Juneteenth gave her an opportunity to flex her muscles by herself as a leading lady. And I was there for all of it. She played a woman who was strong. She played a woman who was a mother. She played a woman who was struggling with her past, but was trying to help her daughter through the present. I was there for every single moment that Nicole Beharie had to give us on that screen in Miss Juneteenth.
I'm going to say this as a mom. I really related to this. You know, we try not, at least I tried not to pass on my baggage to my daughter. Do you know what I mean? And you have to thread that line of wanting to protect your child, but also allowing your child to be their own person. And all of that was on that screen. You know what I mean? And she's just stunning in this film. I don't mean like in an attractive, like looks exterior, but the emotional range that we all know she has is seen in that film. I just love this performance. I can't say enough things about it.
And if you've spent time in small Black town USA, then you definitely see representatives in her performance. And you know, the way that she captures the whole spirit of how so many Black women just keep on going because that's all they know to do. And to have her come at a moment of recognition of herself and to be empowered in the end is just an amazing achievement.
Nicole's one of those actresses. She's just persevered through so much, especially with, you know, the stories that have come out around the press with Miss Juneteenth and what she's endured in the industry as a whole, and is very indicative to her character of Turquoise in this film. You want to root for her character, and also too, you want her to persevere, but also too, from a writing standpoint and her performance, she perseveres the stereotypes that are always pitted against Black women in this country. And that's what really stands out with her character. You feel her love, you feel her pain, but it's never overdone. And she truly is the heart of Miss Juneteenth. She is what continuously made me keep watching when I first saw this film in Sundance.
I just want to piggyback on something that Kathia said about being a mother. It was real easy for her character as Turquoise to fall into that trap of going down the same road her mother went down, because her mother was not going down a lovely road. And it could have been real easy for her to fall into that trap. The trap she didn't fall into that trap, but the trap she did fall into was making poor choices when it came to her men. She made really poor choices when it came to her men. But even that was a situation that she rose above. And let's not forget the fact that this film was directed by a woman, Channing Godfrey Peoples. And I think there's something to be said for a performance, especially for us as Black women, when you are directed by another Black woman. This film would have looked very different had it been a white woman directing it, or a white man directing it, or someone else other than Channing directing it, because Channing, to Rhonda's point, does come from small town USA. So all those things combined helped Nicole give us the best performance that she possibly could with Miss Juneteenth playing Turquoise.
And just to caveat, she was pregnant with her daughter when she directed this film. And I don't know what it is about, there's like at least when I was pregnant, you go through, I was like super, super tired. And I was like, oh, this is going to be the worst 9 months of my life. And then I got to a point where I got all my energy back. And this baby and I, we just moving. I'm still going to be me. I'm still working. I'm still out here in the world functioning. I just have a little extra friend with me. And I can totally see her being driven by her hormones. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. By how she's feeling. And also having that ownership of making sure that that mother-daughter relationship, there are loving moments in it. And like Carla said, is the thing that probably irked me more than anything about her character, about Turquoise, I'm like, I'm gonna need you to just really let go of this man. If you let go of this man, your life will really move forward. And I also like the fact that she recognizes that that's a choice she made and she's responsible for that. Because I think too often we, in these films, right, we make it seem like the men are forcing these women. She understands she's an active participant in the BS of that relationship. And if she doesn't want to deal with that anymore, she got to let that go.
And also, I mean, this movie was originally supposed to take place before Channing found out that she was pregnant. And so becoming a mother changed a lot of her choices. And she, you know, said to us on our AAFCA roundtable that it made her soft and turquoise. And it's just a testament to Nicole Beharie, how she can be hard when she needs to be and doing things, but you never lose sight of her vulnerability, which is what makes this an extraordinary performance.
One last thing about Nicole as Turquoise, she's a business owner. She's a Black female business owner in small town USA, and that shouldn't be lost on us either.
All righty, for our next actress, where we discuss Latisha Wright, who plays Althea Jones, who was a part of the Mangrove Nine, who clashed with the London police in 1970 in Small Axe's Mangrove. Kathia, we'll start with you for this one.
There are so many beautiful things going on. I know right now there's some other stuff going on, but we're just going to talk about her as an artist. We're not doing the other mess. This was like talking to her at the AAFCA roundtable. I don't have this moment happen with people too often, but just thinking about what she did in this film, like I'm getting teary-eyed just about it. When she was talking to old boy and he was like thinking about taking the deal, right? That scene where she was like, this is not just about us in this room. It's about the generations to come. Because if we don't take a stand now, this is going to continue. It's going to continue and it's going to continue. And I just felt like we were an active participant in the process. I say that as a compliment in the filmmaking thing versus with the other movie that had a huge trial where I felt as though we weren't brought in to the tension, to what was going on in that courtroom. I felt like we were on the outside with our head against the glass and we were never allowed in. But Mangrove, what Steve did, allowing Latisha to bring the humanity of this woman, not just as an activist, but as a wife, as a mother to be. That's all the things that we are as Black women. We're always have our kids tucked underneath us, our men. We're not thinking just me, me, me. We're thinking community. And again, it's a beautiful, moving, soul-stirring performance.
And Latisha, I mean, my goodness, like what a powerhouse she is. And this is a historical person. So it's very important for, you know, us around the world to see that the fight for Black liberation is a global fight. And especially to see it in England, because so often, especially on this side of the world, we tend to have these stereotypes about Black British people being more passive and as if, you know, this kind of struggle isn't going on there. So I think that the importance of Mangrove can't be overstated. But of all the performances I've ever seen Latisha give, this moved me to no bounds. Like, I just think that she was just extraordinary.
I echo what you ladies have said. Her performance in this film was a notch above the rest, and it kind of threw her in the lead of the pack, and it makes you forget about her as Shuri in Black Panther, because up until this moment, remember, the only thing any of us could remember her in was playing, you know, T'Challa's little sister in Black Panther. And now she has stepped into this role with all the gusto, with all the guts, with all the maturity that comes along with being a Black woman on the globe. And she owns it 1000%. We as Black women, like Kathia was saying earlier when we spoke about Nicole, we are so strong. We as Black women know and learn that no matter what, we have to keep the family going. We have to keep everything moving, no matter how many tornadoes are swirling around us. So Latisha Wright in this role should be recognized. She should be celebrated, and she should be honored for the brilliance that she's bringing to the screen, because what she did was not easily done, and she did it with spades. She busted it all the way out.
You know, I agree with everything that everyone has been saying. And one of the things that I do want to point out with Mangrove is that her character, you know, she's not the main character of this Mangrove 9 that this movie is centered around, but she is definitely someone that you remember because of her performance, of what she brings to the film. And just to agree, like, this definitely sets her apart. You know, I knew that Latisha was capable of so much more, especially from her Black Mirror episode when she was introduced in one of the most recent seasons of Black Mirror, of this serious tone, or this serious presence that she commands when she's on screen. And so I think that Mangrove is definitely that film that's going to make everyone else notice, because now she's a bigger star because of Black Panther. And now I see her as that leader, you know, whatever they decide to do with Black Panther as we deal with the loss of Chadwick Boseman with the future films. I think she's definitely established herself in this performance as someone that we will continue to talk about year after year. So for the third actress that we'll be discussing, we will discuss Ronda Blank, who plays a down-on-her-luck New York playwright who is desperate for a breakthrough before 40 in the 40-year-old version. And for this, Ronda, we'll start for you.
40-year-old version is the movie that you never knew that you needed. It is so important for us as women to see and to tell others that life does not end after you are 40. Like, there is other life to be lived. There are other contributions to be made. And for this film, it's not that Rada was just making that point, but it was funny. It was poignant. It was, you know, like, she was a woman who was desirable and just all kinds of things. It gave me all kinds of feels. I can't say it.
Yeah, and I think the importance with Rada's performance is that Black women are successful, right? That Black women not only are navigating their personal or their romantic lives, and they're navigating their professional lives, especially within industries that are dominated by men. And I think that that was something important that was conveyed through Rada's experience, but also to the navigation of being a white woman in a white industry. Which is something that really stood out with me. And even with the hilarious comebacks that she has as she's talking to these white producers trying to get her play made, I mean, everyone had that moment. I was just like, sis, this is exactly what goes through my mind in these situations. And that's why the 40-year-old version was just something that I really needed to see, something that I really needed to know through Rada's performance to encourage you to keep going, to know that there's always going to be success at the end of the tunnel. So yeah.
What I really loved about Rada Blank with 40-year-old version is the fact that, like Rhonda said, you don't have to be under 40 to have a life. Like, there is life after 40. I'm after 40. So I have a whole new life that began for me after 40. So to see someone write that out, direct it, act in it, cast it, and throw it up on screen for somebody that looks like me was everything. Representation is everything. And she was just, I can't even find the adjectives or the words to describe how I felt about her when I watched it, because so many different emotions ran through my body. But if I had to pinpoint one thing, the one thing that I can pinpoint is when she was talking to her friend, that moment in the park where she's talking to her friend, telling her friend that she wants to be a rapper. And he's like, yeah, no, you don't need to do that. And how many times have we as Black women told somebody or shared somebody some secret desire that we have, or something that we want to do to move on into another chapter, and someone like that discourages us? They don't mean to, but they do it. and they don't know how those words land on our spirit and on our soul. She didn't let it land in her spirit and on her soul. She was like, watch this. I was there for all of that.
This movie really hit a nerve for me. I come from hip hop. I tell people all the time, that was my point of entry, journalism, all of that stuff. And it's a conversation that me and my fellow women who come through this journey have had, is like, A, we either don't exist unless you're on stage. B, we definitely never contributed anything to the culture. And C, God, it's, if you're a man and you want to say you want to rap after 40, it's a hard conversation. It's really a non-existent, like, you 40, sis, go have a seat, And I love the fact that she stood in it. And this is also authentically New York hip hop. There's a very specific point of view. You can tell she's a New Yorker. Everything about that felt authentic, like having Styles P, which I think is just like such a win-win. I know we're talking about her, but again, I echo with Carla. I am a woman over 40. I turned 50 this year. My best years have been post 40. I own all of that about me. I wouldn't want to be 20 for nothing. Like, you couldn't pay me to be 20. Nothing against anybody who's 20. And I own all of my scars. And I also love, this is a curvy woman. This is a real woman. This, like, if you would say, this is a real chick, and there was not one phony thing about her on that screen, about that performance. And that's why we're all bashing about it. We see you, sis. We with you.
Next, we'll discuss Dominique Fishbach, who plays Robin, a teenager who teams up with an ex-soldier to take down a bad organization in Project Power. And I will kick this off about Dominique. Dominique was a surprise for me this year. While watching Project Power, I wasn't expecting it to take such a deep message out of it. And it's really because of Dominique Fishbach. She's the reason why I enjoyed that film. There is a heart that she brought to it. There was a sense of hopefulness that she brought to this role, which is built like a action comic book style type of film. But she just made it so much deeper with the portrayal of her character, Robin, of what young teenagers go through, of what young Black teenagers go through, of the responsibilities that are placed on, kids like Robin, who are just dealing with tough situations. And it makes me really excited to see what Dominique has to bring to future roles. Kind of just like with Latisha's performance as well, and especially what we will see from Dominique next year, hopefully, in Judas and the Black Messiah.
I will say this. I did not love this film. I had some issues with this film, but I loved her in it. It made me want to say, I want to see her in something bigger and better. She has a presence about her. When you speak to her, she is a alluring young woman. And, I want to know what else she can do. Give her something where she can really sink her teeth into. Hopefully with Judah, we get to see that. But I do feel like she is capable more than what was given to her in that film.
Well, I fell for Dominique in watching The Deuce. I mean, she was, to me, the best thing about it. And, she does have a feature film. It's Night Comes On, is it? I always get the other part. But, I mean, she's just a remarkable actress. And it's amazing that she's almost 30 to really encapsulate like that kind of effervescence and determination. I mean, she really came across as a credible young school age girl, and it was just remarkable. But also, like, going back to what Kathia was saying earlier with Ronda, seeing this creation of a space for women in hip hop. And one of the things I was impressed by the rhymes in it, and Chica wrote the rhymes, and Dominique's delivery comes from her also being a performance artist. So I think that that's something to really praise about her characterization as well. And then we don't see this kind of film where a young girl and an older man, and see that dynamic. We see it with white characters, but we don't often get to see that kind of father and daughter dynamic between people who are not related. And she did that very well.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Rhonda said, Dominique, this was a really big film for her. And she had to hold her own against somebody that's an Academy Award winner, a Grammy winner. She was up in there with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's no lightweight either. And this young lady is standing toe to toe with them and going there. And I remember interviewing her and Joseph for Project Power. And I remember him saying that she made him get on his game. He said, because at this stage in the game, sometimes you come on a set and you're just kind of like, okay, let me just get through this, or let me do the scene. And she came into the scene, both barrels blazing, and he was like, oh, it's gonna be that kind of day. So he was like, oh, I had to step it up, because he was like, she came to play. And I was like, let me roll up my sleeves and get in the sandbox with her. That says a lot and speaks a lot to her character as a person, as a professional, and as a Black woman, a young Black woman who is in the trenches with these prolific powerhouses. And my girl is standing there toe to toe and holding her own through the entire film. You cannot keep your eyes off of her in this film. I agree with Kathia. The film, meh, but her.
So for our last actress that we'll be discussing is Viola Davis, who plays legendary singer Ma Rainey in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And Carla, start us off.
Now, you know, I got lots to say about my girl, Vi, honey. Viola Davis. Viola Davis is just badass. There's nothing left to say about her. This is somebody who has won a Tony twice for August Wilson Plays. She won for featured actress and she won for actress, right? She won Tony. She worked with August Wilson. So nobody more than Viola knows the sensibility of August Wilson's plays and the tone and how it should go. She has lived enough life to be able to bring Ma Rainey to the screen with all that bravado that comes along with it. Gotta say, wasn't a fan of that makeup though, but I ain't gonna talk about her in that makeup. But I am a fan of her, and she's letting us have it. There's that monologue that she does about the Coca-Cola. And when you see it on the stage, that's the one shining moment that actress, whoever plays it, and in this instance is Viola Davis, has that monologue where she talks about that Coca-Cola. It's not about the Coca-Cola. It's about the fact that she asked these white men to do something for her and they didn't want to do it. She's like, who paying for the session? Whose session is this? I'm Ma Rainey. Get to stepping, get to it. That is how Black women always have to navigate in their life, no matter what lane it is. Viola Davis is a powerhouse. She is nothing to be messed with. Everything she touches is just the bomb.com. I was there for all of it, and I'm there for all of her.
I love Viola. This is a perfect example of a woman being comfortable as a mature woman post 40. Like, we just don't have time for mess now. Like, we're not doing that. You either come in with the goods or let us be. Go do crazy by yourself. And that's Ma Rainey. She's like, I have lived enough. I've been through enough. And I don't have time for you. So you either getting this Coke or I'm going home. Guess what? We went and got the Coke. I mean, it's I know we're so drawn in by the other performances, but it's the little things. It's her putting her hand on her hip, like, who you think you're talking to? It's all of those things that embody us as Black women. Her being like, my nephew is going to do this intro. Yeah, I know he stutters, but that's not the point. I told him he's going to do it. Step up, nephew. That's us. All of those things are authentic in that performance because that's who she is. And she comes from a line of women like that. You know what I mean? And I think too often we talk about, casting the right person, the person that understands a point of view. And often that gets lost because the person thinks they can go take a little training course and then it will work out. In this case, because she understands the work, she knows the author, and she understands the experience. And that's why we have such a great performance. I mean, I wasn't crazy about some of the costuming myself, but it kind of went to the wayside when you heard her voice. You leaned into the performance. I'm with Carla on that. I understand they wanted her to be not unconventional, her not embracing what they thought women should look like. But I felt like they could have gone a different way with that. But I do like the performance a lot.
Well, Ma Rainey is, I mean, this is a real person. So, like, a lot of the ways in which she looks is based on photographs that they have of her. And I think that Viola did talk about, having the gold fronts, which was a very real thing in that time period and so forth. But this, what we see in Ma Rainey is Viola in her natural environment. This is what she comes from. This is what she knows. I mean, this man in particular, August Wilson, she I mean, she is here because of him. And all the people that have participated in this, you got George C. Wolfe, you got Ruben Santiago Hudson, who adapted it, you got Denzel Washington. All these people are paying homage to August Wilson and paying him back for what they have given him, because this is the kind of work that has gotten them in Hollywood. And so her performance is effortless, but also the fact that we get to introduce Ma Rainey to a lot of different people and to show that she had power in her own right. I mean, this is a trailblazing musician of the 20th century. This is not an obscure figure, and I think that Viola definitely brought the power to that.
Yeah, I think most of you have said, the same sentiments that I have, but I do want to talk about the presence that Viola brings and the power that she commands. This character that she portrays is not someone that has as much screen time in the film compared to the other characters, but when she's there, a glance at her, you see the power that she has and the control she has over her sexuality, the control that she has over her craft, her business, her family. And I think that really shows through Viola. And it's almost as if there's like this secret part of Viola that she's channeling, because every time I hear Viola speak, she's always speaking words over us. Watching that monologue, Carla, that you referenced, that made me have to take a break and look at my own self-worth and how much, agency that I give other people over myself and my craft. And I think that is the most memorable part outside of the words, but you still got to carry it with the acting, the craft that you put into it. And that monologue is just something that sticks with you the entire time, which is a hard thing to do because there's some amazing performances. And I just think it's important to really give credit to where credit is due when women are a part of these films that are dominated by men and they're still able to control and have their presence come above the rest of the crew.
Let me just add one other thing about Ma Rainey. In most of the August Wilson plays, and there's 10 of them, women are always, there's only one, maybe two women in all of his plays. The plays are very heavily male dominated, and the women usually only have one monologue in all of the plays. So it's important that you cast somebody that can command a stage, that can command that moment, because they have that one moment. And Viola Davis is more than capable of doing that. And she did it. She did it with bells on. I was so excited to see it. And Ma Rainey is a real person. Those photographs, there's only like one real photograph of her. So they took that one photograph and did the best they could to replicate that look. But yeah, I was there for all of it. I really was.
Well, thank you, ladies. Sharronda, Carla, Kathia, and Ronda, terrific job. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, we thank you for tuning in, watching these women talk about equally powerful women in film this year. We wish you well for the holidays. God bless. Have a great day.